Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Wine. Welcome back to art class. Today in class we're going to learn how to use a viewfinder to crop an image. So we've been looking at the art of Georgia O'Keeffe. Georgia O'Keeffe is most well known for her large zoomed in cropped flower paintings. So here I have a picture of some flowers that I found from an old calendar. It's even kind of ripped. And I can see in this picture there are 2 full flowers plus some leaves in the background. Because I want to work like Georgia O'Keeffe, I might not want to include all of this in my artwork. So I'm going to use a viewfinder to help me zoom in. I've made a viewfinder just by taking a note card, folding it in half, and cutting out a rectangle that is about the same proportions as my large sheet of paper. I can use this viewfinder to move it around and decide exactly what part of the image I want to include in my picture. I think if I hold it right up like this, I'm going to have an interesting part of that image. So now that I've used my viewfinder, I want to check and see that some of the edges of the petal are cropped. I can see that the edges of the petal are cropped or cut off by the edges and the corner of the viewfinder. And so that tells me that this is exactly what I want to draw on my white paper. So now I'm going to take my flower and I'm going to slide it off to the side. And I'm going to start drawing exactly what I see on the left side of the viewfinder on my paper. So I see that this petal comes up and it's close to this corner, but it doesn't quite touch that corner. And then it kind of comes down at an angle. I could even turn my viewfinder the same angle as my paper. So now all I have to do is draw that similar edge on my paper. I'm going to start close to the corner, but not on the corner. And I'm going to draw that petal so that it comes down. And I see once I get part way down, there's another part of the flower. So I'm going to stop so I can add that part of the flower. Then I see the edge of this petal touches the edge of the viewfinder, and it's a little just slightly past halfway. So I know, and that edge of the petal comes in, and then there's another petal that comes out. So I'm going to go just slightly past halfway, and I'm going to draw that edge coming down, and then that edge coming back out of that other petal. Now I'm trying to press a little harder than normal so that hopefully you can see the lines that I'm drawing. You should always press softly with your pencil so that you don't see your pencil lines in your final image. Then if I look, I can see this petal comes down and then it runs into one of these long pieces of the flower. So I'm going to go ahead and add that piece in. And I can see the other petal comes up and it touches the top, again, a little bit past the halfway point. So I want to make sure I go past halfway, and I'm going to draw the edge of that petal coming down. And again, I can look at that negative space shape. Remember, a good artist is going to look at the positive space, the object, and the background. And I see that my negative space shape does look similar. If I want to finish off this petal, I see it has a little bit of an uneven edge that starts here and goes there. So again, it misses that corner. So I could move my viewfinder down, and I'm going to start here, a little uneven. And remember, it doesn't matter if I'm copying the flower exactly, as long as I'm getting the gist of the image, because this image can be abstract. And then I see, once that comes over It's just a little space, and then it comes down, and then there's another petal again that comes right out past the edge. So I'm going to come down, and then there's another petal that comes up and over. So now I have all of my cropped edges of the petal on my flower, and I can come back and start to work on some of those details. Another thing to remember is I don't, in my initial sketch, need to include every single detail. I do want to include this large piece, and I see it's close to the bottom but doesn't quite touch the bottom, almost in the middle. I might leave off for now all of those tiny little dots and details, and then I can come in and start to add some of these details, or maybe even some of the orange places on the flower petals. Keeping in mind that this can be abstract, so while I might want to give myself the idea of where some of these colors are, again, it's not like I need to be copying every single piece of this exactly. So I hope it helped seeing how I use a viewfinder to crop my edges. Today you can sketch one or more flowers, however many you have time to, and I can't wait to see your work. Until next time, keep on creating.